let's talk about the dramatic escalation that has now taken place. It seems that this is a full-blown trade war that is now happening between the United States of America and China. US President Trump having announced that United States will impose additional sweeping 104% tariff. That's right, 104% tariff on all Chinese goods effective at midnight on Tuesday, on the 8th of April. Now, the White House official confirming the move, describing it as a response to what the United States has long criticized as China's unfair trade practices, including intellectual property theft and market manipulation. This decision, however, represents the sharpest increase in tariffs between the two nations since the start of the trade conflict, signaling a significant intensification of economic hostilities as well, because both sides, however, have refused to back down.
Yesterday on social media to increase tariffs against China by an additional 50% in response to their retaliation. Has he signed anything in terms of an executive order, any documentation around that? Will that additional 50% go into effect tomorrow?
They will be going into effect at 12:01 a.m. tonight, so effectively tomorrow, yes.
So what started in February this year by the US president is now being countered in equal measure by the dragon. This has got as far as and keeping when it comes to the investors and trade bodies on the edge. Sample this. We'll tell you exactly what has happened event by event, because it was in this year, 2025 February, when the US first imposed 10% tariff on Chinese goods. China hit back with countermeasures. Then in March next month, Trump doubles the tariff to 20%. China also retaliates with 15% additional tariff. Then on the 2nd of April, which Trump outed as Liberation Day, he announced 54% tariff and China retaliated with 34% tariffs. Markets across the world have now been, as far as when it comes to bloodbath that has been reported, but that couldn't stop this tariff war from happening. Trump further threatened that there would be additional 50% tariff on China if it doesn't withdraw the 34% retaliation. China, in the meanwhile, vows that it will fight till the end, calling it as a mistake on top of another mistake that the US seems to be doing.
And other countries are coming in. With China, as you know, against my statement, they put a 34% tariff on above what their ridiculous tariffs were already. And I said, if that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on. So they've gone for years. They've become a rich country because of people, again, that were in the White House that allowed this to happen. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year they're making us on trade, and it shouldn't be that way. And I have a great relationship with President Xi. I hope it's going to stay that way. I have great respect for China, but they can't do this. We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do this, what I'm doing. And I'll tell you what, it's an honor to do it, because we have been just destroyed, what they've done to our system. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason.
So Donald Trump there calling it as unfair trade practices and taking advantage of the United States imposing retaliatory tariffs as Trump's indirect attack that has also happened on China, because he says that nations for long have taken advantage, and saying that several nations have ripped off the United States of America. Let's get in a word from Shinjoy now. Shinjoy is connected with us. But in the meantime, let's first play out when it comes to the President of the United States. In a way, he has now been attacking the United States. He's been attacking the Chinese government on the other hand, saying that the United States has been ripped off, and he has already called tariffs as a beautiful thing. And he says that this is being used something against us for many years by several countries.
It's an amazing thing. This has been something used against us for many years by other countries, China in particular, but others, not just China, others, and taken advantage of us, ripped us off, and left us for dead, frankly. And I believe if I didn't become your president, I believe that this country would have had problems like they've never had before.
Well, Srinjoy, the two biggest economies in the world, full-blown trade war that it seems only escalating. It seems that when it comes to the American goods will skyrocket in China, and so will happen with the Chinese goods in America. What does it talk about as far as the current tariff war that has been taking place only escalating?
Yes, one thing, of course, is true, that Chinese Trade practices overall have been unfair for many years and in many ways. About that, there is no doubt. But whether tariffs is the answer is something we will know very shortly. Because if you raise tariffs, that is like a tax. And that tax is transferred to the consumer. So if there is inflation, if the world economy shrinks, then the people who will suffer are the people who voted for Donald Trump. Already, there are some misgivings in the United States, but it's important to see how this plays out, what kind of inflation will actually happen, and how much it will, in what areas, and how much will it affect the United States and the middle class in America. That's one thing. Because in a democracy, it's harder to contain this kind of dissent. In China, of course, American goods will become more expensive. 34% is 34%. But what is likely is that the effect will be a little less because China imports goods which are worth about 150 billion from America, and America imports goods that are worth about 500 billion. So it is likely that Americans will pay a higher price.
So when it comes to the citizens, they're, on the verge of being isolated globally. Is that the risk that Donald Trump is willing to take? Because when it comes to friendly countries as well, they too have not been very happy with the tariffs that have now been announced. But however, Donald Trump says that negotiations will take place, but not with China. Now, with Donald Trump's tariff tremors that can be felt across the world, the U.S. president has also defended his decision on imposing tariffs. He's called them tailored tariffs. He's called them a beautiful thing, and also has invited nations for talks, for negotiations.
And for those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. We're going to have to use those great law firms, I think, to help us with that. But we're going to probably do that, actually. We're going to use them, and we're getting them for the right price. Because we need a lot of talent. We have a lot of countries coming in. They want to make deals. If I told them about making those deals 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, they'd be laughing at us. Now they're all signing up. Mike, you know that. And America is going to be very rich again very soon. You're going to see that happening. You see it all along. Sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit, but we've had great consideration. We've had talks with many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is can't see that many that fast. But we don't have to because, as you know, the tariffs are on and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before.
So Donald Trump says that money is now pouring in, and this seems to be, however, some trouble in paradise because according to reports, it seems that President Trump and Tesla chief Elon Musk are not apparently on the same page with regards to tariffs as well. Let's, in the meantime, talk about how the Indian government has now been working, because what is being said that they are working hard to expedite the conclusion of the BTA, which is the bilateral trade agreement, with India's External Affairs Minister speaking to the US Secretary of State. And this has raised certain hopes of a trade deal between the two countries. On the other hand, Union Minister Piyush Goyal has claimed unfair trade practices by China for global turmoil, even taking on the opposition party.
We are working on a bilateral trade agreement as was decided between Prime Minister Modi and Trump in February. We have had a series of engagements. All of them are going well in the right direction. Obviously, we are covering a very wide array of subject products, and I can assure business persons across the country that we are keeping the best interests of India at the forefront of our discussions. Our bilateral trade agreement with the United States of America will power the economy towards Viksit Bharat 2047.
Well, the full-blown trade war only escalating, especially between the United States and China. How does it impact India? We'll get you expert point of views as well. You're watching the Morning News Hub. We will be back on the other side of a very short.